Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, good evening. This is our second show. I am Chief Langley of the Yuchi Indian tribes of the Savannah River. I'm also an electronic engineer by trade. I'm a forensic genealogist and a tribal historian. And tonight we have dedicated Thursday nights to talk about home remedies. And tonight I'm going to talk about some of my grandmother home remedies. I also refer to her as Mom because she raised me from 3 days old. So when I go back and forth from Mom to Grandma, I'm talking about the same person because that was my mother to me. Both of my parents are Yuchi Indians. So my family, 4 or 5 generations, married back into each other. And that's a common trait you'll find among families. And when you find families that are doing that, you need to dig beneath the surface and do a little research. And you may find you a clan in there because that's what families are. So tonight, I'm going to talk about some of these remedies, some of these portions, and the key thing about home remedies from your grandmother. Key thing to remember, the herbs that she used. My mother only used herbs that she knew and that came from Georgia and South Carolina. And those herbs were indigenous to America. Now, there are many other herbs out here that are not indigenous. The Europeans brought some, and the Africans brought some. But from a genealogy or genealogical perspective, this is another tool for you to trace your ancestry. Because if she used the herbs from the earth that was here, natives don't use African herbs, vice versa. You might find some people today mixing it up. But your grandmother and her mother and your grandaunt, they used what was from this part of the country. And that's what my mother did. My mom, on Sundays going to church, we would stop side the road and she would make us eat red Georgia clay. Because people don't realize how nutritious that clay is. We would have to dig down deep until it looked gooey, like chocolate, but it wasn't chocolate, it was red. And we grab it by the handfuls and eat it. And I got a burst of energy that would last me 2 or 3 weeks or longer. And many of you today, go find you some red clay. Because it is very high in protein and antioxidant. That's just one. The second thing my mom used was sassafras. And sassafras is very good for a blood thinner. Also an antioxidant. You can find this stuff usually in the springtime. And it's very good for clearing your aura as well, spiritually. But taking it and putting it in a tea removes all the impurities from your blood. The third thing we will use is something called life ever after. It's also called rabbit tobacco. Now, if you want a substitute for smoking some hemp, you get you some sassafras. It's legal. You smoke enough of it. Woo! These things are very important. It's a blood thinner, and it brings up all the mucus out of your lungs. Powerful. But you can only get it in the springtime, and it grows in the southeast. I placed some videos earlier in our group, Savannah River Chiefs e-learning, that gave a little brief description on it. And so you just go to that group or go to YouTube and look up Sassafras Life Ever After. Great herbs. I mean, we kept it in the house year round. Now, some people believe that you put it in the house is bad luck. Well, I find it hard to be bad luck to be in your house when you want to smoke it. So you can smoke it outside to clear your lungs, but you can't put it in your house. It brings bad energy. Well, if it's good enough to smoke, it's good enough to go in my house because I'm putting it in my system. So when you watch things on TV, you have to be very careful of what people say with their superstition. We had it in the house year round. Nothing happened. But it's very good for blood thinner. Next thing Mom kept around the house, cayenne pepper. We call it red pepper. Cayenne or chili pepper. Cayenne pepper mixed with cinnamon, honey, and garlic juice. You want a burst of energy in the morning? Take you a tablespoon daily. Mix it with about 6 ounces of water. Try that every day for 2 weeks in the morning and tell me how you feel. No caffeine can give you a greater burst of energy than that. And also, for the men out there listening, if your dead man hasn't moved, and you know what I mean by dead man, after you try that for about 2 weeks, you will have no problem. Your flag will be saluting in the air. Things are very important because when you mix these formulas together, because that's all herbs are, just mixing the different ingredients together, it works tremendously. It's not going to harm you. These are natural products. Rarely did we have common colds growing up because my mother kept us healthy. And it's another thing. My mom would be in the kitchen talking and singing to the food. And this is very important because her love and her energy and that vibration went into the food. So when my mom prepared her food, if you were sick, it made you feel better. And if you were well, it made you feel great. A lot of people don't understand the connection to that. Many times we say grace for blessing food, that's fine. But when you're in the kitchen and you making that meat, you put those spoken words over it. Very, very important. And if my mom wasn't in the kitchen talking over the food, my father didn't eat, we didn't eat. Food wasn't going to taste good. She had a bad day. No. She was very careful about that. She had a bad day. She didn't cook because she didn't want that vibration around the meal she was preparing for her family. Cayenne pepper is also good for arthritis, flus, fever. It's a blood purifier. Take it daily. And that honey kills the bad taste of it being so spicy. It works. Next thing my mom used, saw palmetto. And you can go out and get these in the woods, and these things are good for diarrhea, abdominal pain. It stimulates the appetite. You got a cough, to get rid of it. Most of these herbs that I'm telling you about, you can buy from GNC stores or a health food store. There's also on our website, if you go to www.srbeuchetribe.org and go to the herbs section of the website, we have a listing of what those herbs look like, what time of the year they grow, so you can know where to go and find them in the woods. Raspberry. My mom used to keep raspberry around, and I wondered for years why she kept it around. And to the ladies out there listening, raspberry is a blessing because it tightens certain muscles and keeps them firm and tight. And I hope you can read between the lines those muscles I am talking about. It's very good for that. Also good for sore throats. Boil it in a tea. Clears nausea. Prevents hemorrhaging. Most importantly, it's good for tightening your lower muscles. And when women used to have babies, they used to come to my mom, and she would fix this potion for them. And it tightened those muscles back to the natural state. So you want to make sure you get you some raspberry. Rose hips is another one that she used. Wild rose, I'm sorry. And we used to drink that in form of a tea. It's good for the bladder. Good for fevers, infections. It really boosts your immune system. It's called wild rose. You want to make sure you get some of that as well. Garlic. We used to grow a lot of garlic in the backyard. And wild garlic is really good for everything. Keeps you healthy. Good for cancer. I'm talking wild garlic. Lowers your blood pressure, cholesterol. At the same time, you have to be careful with garlic because it tampers with your intuition. So from a spiritual standpoint, you don't want too much of it. So you need to learn how to balance it out because it will kill or apprehend your spiritual ability. And that's very important because from a spiritual standpoint, garlic is used many a times to divert evil energies away. At the same time, you'll stop your good energy from your intuition. So try to balance it out and not consume too much of it, especially on a daily basis. Because you eat garlic every day, your intuition is really not going to be that well from a spiritual insight. Wild ginger. Ginger, cayenne pepper, cinnamon, some onions, onion juice. Now, that really sounds bad, onion juice. Well, not really. When you mix it together, this combination is very good. Earaches, sore throat, headaches, asthma, tuberculosis. It's also a stimulant for your appetite. It will get the furnace burning. You want to use that as well. Everybody should be familiar with witch hazel. We used it a lot. It's very good for sunburns, hemorrhoids, muscle aches. When you get the natural herb, you can also sometime with it. It's very good for external use. I don't recommend trying to put it in a tea form. Use it as a sap. So it's very good for that. Also, it stops bleeding. Yellow root. Mom kept a lot of that around. And that was good for the liver and kept the blood pressure down. Another thing we would do is Mom would have us put Spanish moss in our shoes. So that lowers your blood pressure. Not only does it lower your blood pressure, it also keeps your temperament down. You have some moss in your shoe, you won't get angry as much. That works very well for controlling temperament and lowering your blood pressure. White pine. White pine was something that Mom used to boil. You can get it from the cedar trees and take the bark around the root, boil it into a tea. It's good for coughs, flu, basic colds, cuts, bruises, inflammation. This is very good, this white pine, because we used to take it and drink it. I used to mix it with a little bit of honey, so it really works. You want to get the inner bark. And there's some directions on our website for that as well. Herbal Remedies, home remedies. And there are hundreds more, but these are the little basic ones that we had around the house that really works. And what you find, not all tribes do the same thing. And that's something people generalize a lot. And it's not true. Even the culture is different. It's diversified. Remedies are different because you may not have the same plants and herbs out on the west that you have in the south. But they're used for the same thing, but these herbs are different. So you got to take that in account. So people think because the Lakota do something or the Cherokee do something, every other tribe have to do the same thing. No. That's not the case. So you have to understand the diversity that is among tribes. Don't generalize it. All of our cultures are different. Even family clans are different. Some medicine men, you have to go to a certain clan to have certain rituals or medicines made for you. Because that family holds that right for doing that, and they've been doing it for centuries and know how to do it and has been blessed by their ancestors to do it. So you can't just come up in there and just look at somebody and say, oh, yeah, I got it. No. Because if they're making this medicine, they're also chanting or they're talking. These things you must understand. Don't go to everybody's sweat lodge. Be very careful. You don't know what energy is going on up in there. You are of your ancestors. For hundreds of years, many tribes are warring tribes and are not friendly with each other. But you think today is okay, but I tell you what,
Your ancestor DNA is in you. So when you go out to some of these places and you start getting a funny feeling that doesn't agree with you, that's them ancestors in that DNA waking up, telling you no. Many of you ignore these things. You cannot do that. I don't come in from no East Gate. I don't come in from no West Gate. I don't go. And when I pray to my ancestors, I pray into the language that they spoke. If you want to connect with your spiritual ancestors and your native, many of them with the power didn't speak English. They spoke in their native language. When you go to church, they call it speaking in tongue. Got to understand this. This is crucial. I speak in my native language. That's how I communicate with my ancient ancestors. And this is what my mom did for about a year before she passed. Because she had a mild state of dementia. And in the afternoons, Mom would go back into her native language. And I would sit and write down phonetically some of the words that she was saying. I'm not totally fluent in my language, but I understand it enough. This is what she did. So when your ancestors are suffering from dementia, and those of you who are listening to me, I want you to listen very carefully. Do not ignore that. Don't take it for granted, because many a time they're in another dimension. Dimension. They're on that plane communicating with the ancestors. You can learn from the I got more answers to questions at that time that I received when my mom was in a different state of mind and didn't want to tell me certain things. So when your uncle or your aunt or your grandmother hit that state, always get your pen and paper and listen and write it down. And if you can't decipher it, there's somebody out there that can. Let me tell y'all a story. A long time ago, in the late 1880s and the 1900s, natives who in the Southeast didn't speak English, they placed them in a sane asylum and said these people were mute and dumb. They were not. They refused to speak the English language. Not that they couldn't, they didn't. So many of your ancestors ended up in what is called the nut house. So why am I telling you this? Many people today that are in the insane asylums are not crazy. They don't need to be medicated. Their spiritual realms need to be balanced out. Medication is not going to do that. You need a medicine man to come in who can talk to those spirits, which are those different personalities that exist inside of them. And some say, well, how is that so? Because you are of your ancestors. You might have 3 or 4 voices in there talking at the same time, but they're on that other dimension. Doesn't make them crazy. So you go and medicate them. For what? We were taught to look at this in a different way. I approach it in a different way. Modern scientists don't always have the answers because they are practicing medicine. And there are things that we hold that are natural. And we have an understanding of it. So from a genealogical perspective, when you can't find many of your ancestors, what you need to do is check the mental hospitals in the 1930s, 20s, 10, and 1900s. That's a part of the census schedule as well. Many of your ancestors are missing at that time, and they're not in the sane asylum. You need to check the jails. That's census too. Well, I don't know. My grandfather just went missing, and nobody knew what happened. Check the jails. These are government census records. These things are key. Don't ever overlook these things. I take genealogy from a questionable approach. From a forensics, you have to examine always. And even on the medical side of things. And this is why I have dedicated Thursday nights to talk about mom's home remedies. Because many of your mothers and grandmothers have home remedies. But I'm going to tell you what, there's a secret code in that remedy, and it deals with genealogy. Those herbs, when you trace them and find where they come from, will lead you back to a tribe, whether it's in Africa or whether it's here in the southeast or northeast, or maybe out in California. So you got to analyze this. Which tribe were using these herbs in the area? Many of you don't know who your ancestors are, and you're on a search. What I just told you gave you a clue to do a to think about. Many of these things are overlooked. Home remedies are no more than blueprints of who your parents and grandparents, and they are not here today, they have become ancestors. Pay very close attention to that. Don't ever omit that. And that is very important. These home remedies tell you things because they've been using them for thousands of years. These are not synthetic drugs. It's simple. Most time you go to the doctor, you get addicted to something, and you have to have it. Then it has tricked your mind, and your mind think you got to have it now. So when you take the medication, you think you feel better because the medication triggers your thoughts into thinking. My mother used to give me a kiss when I was small, when I burnt my arm or scratched it. And Mama said, "Come here, baby, let me kiss it." And when my mama kissed it, it felt better because she gave me an antidote of love and care and affection. I didn't think of it. So, was it really in my mind? Because I had faith and belief in my mom's kiss of showing me care and compassion, it was okay. The mind is all powerful. Relationships are all powerful. These things connect you to life. I'm not a medicine man, but I know medicine. Because I am telling you what my family taught me. See, when you're growing up and you're poor, you concentrate and you preserve good health. Because you don't have the monies to go to the doctors. So what you have to rely on is your home remedies. See? Poor people should always be healthy. Should be. When I was growing up, poor people were very small. Today, poor people, very obese, unhealthy. I was coming up. No. Poor people didn't have much money. They grew their own food. They're very conscious about their health. So many of you, even today, need to go back to those concepts. That consciousness. If you descend from that. These things are very, very important. We spend too much time not thinking about, and acknowledging the signs of things that is directly before us. You don't have the money to go to the doctor. You don't have health care. Revert back to your home remedies. Go back to eating the foods that keep you healthy. Grow your garden. These are things we need to do. Certain foods, when my mom was living, she wouldn't buy out of the grocery store. I don't want that. I'm not going to feed that to my family. I grow it myself. Or she calls someone. Y'all got any greens over there you're growing? Put me on your list. I want the greens, the tomatoes, the potatoes. Those are natural growing foods without any chemicals. Mom didn't eat anybody's chicken unless she grew her own yard chicken. She didn't trust the chicken in the store. Many times I got sick going out to the chicken coop, grabbing a chicken by the neck and popping it and cutting the neck off and plucking it in the hot water. Yard chickens are very healthy. Are you going to eat chicken? So these are things we have to think about today and become more health conscious. It's very simple. Reverting back to your grandma remedies. And I hope this show tonight will really take off, that people will call in and look forward to it, start sharing their remedies so we are all conscious. Because what I might not have that works, somebody else has it. This is priceless. My father used to rely on a spoken word. And a spoken word mean a lot to my dad. And my dad didn't shake a lot of people's hands. He bowed and said, "How you doing?" That way, energy transfer. No. I don't know what his thoughts are. I don't know what his thoughts have been. Didn't. He just greeted, "How you doing?" about his head. Tip his hat. See, we have to go back to be conscious of things. Because we live so much in a physical world, we forget about spiritual and the spirituality of things, which is very important. We don't have a balance. We're too physical. where you can meditate on things in the spirit and master those things that you have in the spirit into the flesh. See, we have to master the physical plane of life. Sleep is one of the best cure to heal. My mom used to tell me all the time, go take a nap. But when you take a nap, baby, go take a trip. What do you mean, Mom? Go take a trip. Go dream. And I get mad when they wake me up out of my dream because my dream was so good. I was having a good time. You spoiled it. You woke me up. Man, how can I get that dream back? You heal yourself in your dreams. You can manifest your goals in your dreams. You can solve your problems in your dreams. These things are part of healing. My mother made sure when I was small I took a nap. What you gonna dream about tonight? I don't know, Mom. Maybe I'll go take a trip here. Well, go do that. Go visit your great-granddaddy. Okay, I'll tell you about it in the morning. Fine. Wake up in the morning, Mama asked me, how was your night? Well, I traveled over there. You can go in your mind because your ancestors are part of your DNA. So don't let no one tell you something otherwise. These things are very important. So when people say sometimes you're strange, strange to who? I'm not strange to myself. Because I don't have a problem with me being strange. You do since you were complaining about it. And you need to correct yourself, not me. Dream. Healing. You're feeling bad? Take your nap and go dream and say, I'm feeling better. And when you wake up, don't you feel better? Go heal yourself in your sleep because that's where the body heals every time. This is very important. We have lost a lot of the basic things in life that makes us healthy. The basic things in life that brings us peace of mind. We're no longer conscious of these things. We need to go back into these things. My mom always told me, baby, seek peace. And when you seek peace, gather your joy. When you have your joy, don't allow no one to steal it away from you. You don't need happiness when you have joy in your life. Because joy is like wealth. It takes a long time to go away. Because with joy, happiness falls in its place. You can be happy tomorrow and sad the next, but if you have joy, these things is part of healing. My dad used to tell jokes just to keep us laughing because laughing is medicine. I take some of our heritage members now and we go to YouTube and we listen to these prank phone calls. You got Nephew Tommy, Roy Woods Jr., a few other cats out there. It's a form of therapy. When you can laugh, you cry, your body releases hormones that heals you. Don't go a day in your life without laughing. It's medication. I know I might be telling you something that's wrong. Try it. When you get off this phone tonight, go to YouTube, find something that makes you laugh. You got a blood pressure monitor in your house? Check your blood pressure before the laugh or after the laugh. That's healing. Mama, I don't feel good. Mama, come over here and tickle me. I start laughing. How you feel now? Mama, I feel better. These things, basic things in life, that's part of healing. That's very important. We've gotten away from the basic. We need to get back to the basics, where it's simple living. You don't need no medication. The foods that we eat determine our personalities. Listen, well, Chief, I don't know about it. Oh, yes, it is. You better observe it. When I used to go to picnics when my parents were living, and people had a whole bunch of fried chicken and macaroni and Budweiser, them Negroes gonna kill one another. Why? All that bad food they eating. Somebody gonna fight. Pork chop and Morgan Davis will run you crazy. Don't take my word for it. Try it. See, don't you go temporarily enslaved eating some pork chop and drinking some cheap wine. These things are very important, but we're not conscious. You must become conscious of your diet. And our diet is our way of life. So now, for the next 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to open up the calls. I wanted this to be brief and educational. This is our second one. So if you have any questions, those that are call in, you're welcome to speak. 718. Any questions?
So you compared, Howard, the criticism of the first children to the
414. Have any questions?
I did. I'll tell you what.
Well, no one has had any questions. I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. We're going to run these shows starting on Wednesday night to Sunday. And I'm putting together some programs that are informative and educational. Because we have to get back to our consciousness. And there's one thing about genealogy that I've learned. Genealogy is the Bible. It is a way of life. It is a science of living. Well, how so, Chief? Because it covers all aspects of who you are and who your ancestors were that gave birth to you by means of your mom and dad and grandparents and so forth and on. You learn what they did, where they lived, how they lived. There are so many different court records and avenues of records on your family, you can't believe. This is why we take time to teach genealogy, so you will understand these things. I don't mind doing somebody's genealogy for them. I'd rather you do it yourself. Allow me to give you the road map to guide you through because you're dealing with your ancestors. And at one point, this journey becomes spiritual. And I don't want to deal with your spirits. You do. Things are very important. So on that note, hope you enjoyed tonight. Like I said, anybody have any questions? It's 414-0718. If not, I'm going to end this call. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. We have a class this weekend called Resolving the Issues. I encourage anyone, if you are lost in your genealogy, come take this Saturday's class. All our class are held online. Prices range from $25 to $55. We don't take it any higher than that. We have 27 modules. We teach you beneath the surface on how to think and what to think when it comes to tracing your ancestors. So don't let no one fool you that native ancestor is impossible to trace. That is no longer the case because we teach you how to do it by giving you the information of the records that have been suppressed or omitted. It's out there. Your grandmothers didn't lie to you. Your grandfathers didn't lie to you. That information is out there. So gravitate to it. We show you. We teach you. And on that note, everybody have a good night. I see you tomorrow night, same time. Tomorrow night we'll be talking a little more genealogy. Tonight I wanted it to be about grandma home remedies. So, that note, once again, everybody have a good night. And thank you.